So with Sasquatch sightings, there's this kind of division among how they're kind of portrayed. The southern states, like Missouri is where I grew up, and the you get the smelly, shaggy, hunched, almost more ape-like rendition, and then you got your Pacific Northwest kind of the patty image of it. So in Michigan, what are the sightings like? Are they more like a patty kind of thing? Are they more this shaggy, babbling, stinky thing?
Variety, honestly. Most of the time, it's I would say Patty and stuff. From what
Yeah.
I had seen and glanced at silhouettes and stuff. They're massive, sloping cone
Oh,
cone
and
head
you
shape.
all get what dogman sightings mixed in with that too, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that I had seen, the Dogman I had seen, I hate calling it Dogman because it doesn't feel right, but it was a very natural looking wolf on all four legs until it got up and ran like a human in the field. Then it wasn't
Oh,
so natural looking.
that's
Uh,
please, can we have that story? Have you? I sorry if you told that story a million times and you're sick of telling it.
no,
That sounds
no, it's
super interesting.
no, it's fine, it's fine. Yeah. So this was October of last year. Uh, Not last year, 2 years ago, or no, yeah, 2 years ago. Yes, not
Oh,
last year.
I was like, did I
2020.
lose?
2020 October. First week of October. Um, Driving down the road with my family in the car, girlfriend in the passenger seat. Driving down this
Mm-hmm.
road, we go down dozens of times a year, and it was after sunset. We had the brights on. It wasn't really dark enough to have the brights on, but there's a lot of deer. We just wanted to be safe and stuff, and so we're driving down the road, and then all of a sudden, I register a canine head crossing the white line
Mm-hmm.
on the left. Uh, and this happens really fast, but as soon as I register the canine head and it's moving, towards the center of the road as we're going 55 miles an hour down the road, I'm thinking, oh, cool, it's a coyote. It's going to cross in front of us. Wow, it's pretty cool. It's out in the open. You don't really see that too often. When it got to the middle of the road and we're getting closer, in the middle of the road, I see that it's holy crap! It's massive. It's huge. It's not a coyote. It's a wolf. Very long portions and very massive body to it. I'm like,
Was that
holy.
the first wolf you ever saw in Michigan?
Uh, First wolf I seen, yeah, out of the wild, especially in Lower Michigan. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, for sure. We don't officially we don't have wolves this far south in Michigan.
We
Uh,
know they travel down there in the winter, though. We yeah.
Yes, for sure, potentially, but officially the DNR would say there's definitely not this far south. No way.
And there's no cougars too, but they
Yes.
wander in from more common habitat when the males are looking for mates, especially. You know.
Oh, very true, very true. There's kind of a conspiracy on that for sure. Um, okay, so and then about the middle, when it got to the middle of stuff, it kind of glanced at us. So if you ever seen a dog run or a wolves run or a bear run, and they go really fast, really and put it in hyperdrive, and they kind of bob their head really fast, and they do this motion where they're kind of bobbing their head as they're girding along. It did that to really get across the road because we're coming in on it, and it turned and looked at us because its eyes were reflecting off our car lights, and so it was shining and stuff. And so when it's doing that girt motion, it was kind of doing this circular motion, and it looked at us because we could see not only this eye on our side, but the other eye when it looked across its nose.
Did
And
it have eye
so
shine? Like was the I don't know
it
if you
was
have
reflecting off our car light, so it was not
yeah.
giving off its own. It was reflecting.
No, yeah, eye shine. Yeah, like if you shine a flashlight in the woods, you see that the animal's eyes reflect back. Yeah.
So, and then it crosses the road and runs in the field. And just about as uh, we're going, it's running straight in the field, and we're coming across, and as we're right about here, and we cross and go like this, as right here, it stands up. It's in the field, but as we're like about parallel to it, it stands up and starts running like a person, with arm moving, everything like a person. Stands up very fluidly and continues to run from all fours to bipedal movement very fluidly. And
It was running like a person. It went from digigrade to plantigrade, like just fluid.
fluid, no, without stopping and still maintaining its speed. And so at this point, it's, I would say, 6 feet tall. At least I'm 6 feet tall. It's at least as tall as me, maybe bigger, standing up. And my
That's
girlfriend's seen it. And I have my GoPro right there. And
the the crazy thing about that is that,
she wasn't gonna let me stop. And she
you
had seen
catch
it.
the pictures.
And
Yeah.
real quick, she said, she's like, I asked her, what she had seen, and she said she had seen what I had seen. But at first she said she thought it was a person on a bike because it was standing up on the side of the road, and then it went down, and she started seeing these eye reflections doing this circle movement, and she thought it was a bike of some sort. But then she realized, holy crap, this was not that. So apparently she had seen it, and it was standing up on the side of the road, and then went on all fours across the road. And this is, there's houses and stuff. This is the country, but there's a house, 500 yards, half a mile away, quarter mile away, and stuff. It's not out in the boonies. This is not the wilderness. This is still pretty rural America, everyday America. But
So did it have a long tail, like a
it
wolf?
was like a wolf. Everything about it was a natural wolf. If it never got up on two legs, I would have just thought it was a wolf. Nothing
That reminds
screamed
me of
werewolf, nothing screamed dog man, nothing screamed, freak of nature. This was very natural looking until it stood up.
that reminds me of like you see like skinwalker sightings and stuff. What
That's
people
what I was about to
report,
say.
and they like, oh, it looked like a regular canine, and it was walking along the side of the road, and then all of a sudden it stood up, and yeah, it's like that's like a common occurrence, like around the Navajo nations and things like that.
So the second part of that, and I don't tell this side too often. I have before, is I had a dream after this. I had a dream of a certain situation, okay, and certain things that were said. A couple months couple weeks later, still October, we were out we're doing our Dewey Lake Monster Conference out in Dewey Lake area. We were sitting around a campfire and stuff, and my dream that I had dreamed had came true. The people were set up in the same way, the same setting, same backdrop, and the two people that were there we had mentioned the same thing and said the same thing and same mannerism and same likeness, and even the same head cocking.
It was like a whole deja
And
vu moment with your dream,
the
huh?
deja vu moment. And the thing was Skinwalker. In the dream, they said the thing could be a Skinwalker, and then and so that was very weird. And when that happened, I was very I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything to anyone. I didn't mention it to anyone. I was very reserved and took it in and kind of thought about it. And then later I told people, hey, this is this came true. This is deja vu. And so I don't know. I don't know if it's just nothing. I guess I have to add it to the story because it's related.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing about it, and I was there.
I've told you this before. I've told everyone this before, but it's been a little while since I've told it. So
that's probably that's one of the I've listened to a few of your shows. This is the first time I've ever come on, but that's one of the more interesting stories that I've heard on here. I mean, usually you talk about a lot of Bigfoot stuff, so it's interesting to hear that you kind of dip into some of these other cryptid topics.
Well, we got Stickman too.
Stickman.
Yeah, me and him.
you have to when you experience it, you know.
Oh my goodness, that sounds interesting. What's a stickman?
Well, you know, all that happens is I just, you know, we go out there, I go out there, and we experience stuff that seems to be odd and abnormal. But when I was younger, 14, 15, I was already Sasquatching. You know, at 13, I already had my first encounter with a Bigfoot. And so I was out there researching and stuff, going at night by myself. I had a friend spend the night, and I took him out Sasquatching without telling him that's what we were doing. We're just, you know, out in the woods. And when we get back, you know, we decided to go on the other side of the property, behind the fence, behind the barn, over by this cow pasture where the cows are. And we had just crossed this fence just out of my backyard into the field, back field. It was kind of overgrown with grass, but it was wet and damp and matted down. But we walk 20 yards away from the fence line, the corner, not that far, 10 yards, 20 yards, not that far. And I look over to this broken tree, and the stump was about 5 or 6 foot tall. And I'm looking at it, and we're walking, and I'm talking to my friend, and I'm looking at it, and something just didn't add right. It didn't look right to me, and just didn't add up. And we're looking at this, and all of a sudden, notice that there's a head. It was like that and stuff. So I smacked my friend and stuff, and hey, look at this, you know, look. And all of a sudden, this creature, you know, peeked out from behind the tree and looked at us. And it was a humanoid creature. It was bald, super skinny, naked, super skinny. So skinny that I nicknamed it the Stick Man, because its arms, when it did it the second time, leaned out, its whole arms, you know, was like the size of my wrist, you know, very skinny type of humanoid. And it was about 7 foot tall. I'm 6 foot tall. It was about 7 foot tall from what I estimated. And this thing was, and the moon was out. The moon was bright. You know, I don't know if it was full moon, half moon, but it was bright enough that we could see that it was kind of a tannish, naked, pale humanoid. Its eyes, although they were not illuminated or anything, I remember that they were very yellowish tan color. It was bald, humanoid. It looked like Gollum from Lord of the Rings.
Except for really tall.
Except for it was about 7 foot tall, 6 foot tall, 6'5", 7 foot tall. I wouldn't say any taller than that. And when a tree peeked at us, basically the third time, that's when my friend was really freaking out. And I was freaked out too, because here I am looking for Bigfoot, and I see this thing, and I don't think it was a Bigfoot. It would have to be, if it was a Bigfoot, it would look like a Holocaust victim. You know, that is, what it would look like if it was a Bigfoot,
Can I just say that Bigfoot Holocaust would be a killer band name? Just throwing that out there.
Right. But that's how, emaciated and stuff it would have to be if it was an actual 7 foot tall Bigfoot. To the point where, the thing would probably be about dead at any time. I just can't see it.
Is it the only time you saw it?
We went inside and told my dad, freaking out, and said, saying, this stick man's out there, My dad's old school. no nonsense kind of guy, drinking a beer, smoking a cigarette. Goes out there, goes to the fence line, is looking at the tree, and he comes back inside and says he didn't see anything. But a couple years after this, my dad says, "Hey, you remember the stick man thing?" And I said, "Yeah. I always, I knew what I seen. I always kept to the story, and my buddy never came back over to that house after that." But my dad said, "Well, let me tell you the real story." And the real story is, well, he went out there and he did see it. And the reason why he lied is we had just moved to this property around a year before. My mom had passed away. I'm 13, 14. My brother's 5 years younger than me. My dad works all day, comes home. It's about dark, He didn't want us freaking out, scared that, he had seen something too. And there was actually something else out there. And so he had actually seen it. And so he was staring at the trees, at the spot. And the creature tree peeked at him. And he said he got a good look at it, of course. And he said the same thing. And he's smoking on the cigarette with the beer in his hand. And he's looking at it and he's just taking it all in. And the creature does a second time. He sees its shoulder and it's really coming out, and its arms are very low to the ground. And he said when it did it the third time, it came almost halfway out where he got a pretty dang good look at it. And he likes to describe it as like a tall gray alien type of creature, of that look, of a tall gray humanoid. That's what he, kind of describes it as. It was naked and stuff, And so he turns around. He says, "Okay," and turns around and walks inside. And he's contemplating. He's thinking about, okay, well, maybe I should go grab the gun, the shotgun or one of the rifles, and go back out there and do something about it or do something, whatever. And then so he decides to, what? Not. He's just gonna lie to us and say there's nothing out there, and he tells us to go upstairs and go in our rooms, and we did. We didn't go back out there, and it took me a little bit to go back in the woods after that. Not as much as my first encounter, where it took about 2 months to go in the woods. It just took probably about a month, and then I was back in the woods, and never experienced that ever again. But that is what I nicknamed the Stick Man, because at the time, there was no other reference to it. Maybe a Wendigo, maybe a ghoul, a goblinoid creature. Then the Rake creepypasta came about.
The Rake? Yeah.
The Rake.
Yeah, I know the Rake.
Creepypasta, the Rake. My encounter was before that was created and stuff, but yet it resembled the exact same thing. The creature, for all physical appearances, was the exact same thing I had seen. Just minus the paranormal stuff. And
so the Rake is it's kind of fleshy colored. You said that this thing was gray though, so is that just a key difference there?
It was a tannish. Yeah, I mean it was. I wouldn't say gray. I would say it was more of a tannish. It looked like the dead grass. The dead tall grass. It looked very similar in color to the grass and surrounding.
But your dad thought it looked gray, like a gray alien.
No, he said it reminded him of it. He didn't say
Okay.
it was a gray alien. He said it reminded him of it.
Okay.
Not that it was a gray alien from a UFO, but
yeah, that's a interesting story though. How you said you were 14 and your brother was 5. Was your brother involved in this at all?
5 years younger. 5 years younger than me.
It was just you and your friend out there looking into the woods though, right?
Yeah, we were looking in the woods before that, and then we went to the other side of the property, and this was in a tall grassy area next to cow fields and stuff, so pretty out in the open, besides the few trees and stuff, and one tree was behind.
Did you ever go back to the same exact spot and see if you could see it again after like 2 months?
Yeah, it was right there in my backyard. It was like...
No, I'm saying, did you go back there and look after you
Yeah.
weren't afraid of the woods?
It was like it was less. It's like 100 yards,
Well,
less
yeah,
than 100 yards,
would-
100 yards from my
sometimes
doorstep,
you would
my
go
deck.
back to
So
the
yeah,
area.
I went back there. I investigated the tree stump and stuff, and looked where it stood, and that's when I determined, it was about 7 feet tall, and I did investigate all the area, and there, I don't know what it was. I don't know why it was out there looking at us. I don't know what it would have done, what its intention was. I do feel like it was so skinny that it could probably break its arms over my knees like a stick. Hence why I called it Stick Man.
So were you pretty outdoorsy when you were a kid? Spent a lot of time running around in the woods and stuff?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was out there all the time.
Oh, yeah, me too. Yeah. So did that stifled that, huh? You couldn't even go out in your own backyard without feeling uncomfortable.
A little bit, because with the Bigfoot thing, when I encountered it, it freaked me out. As close as it got, but I kind of was comforted that nothing did happen. As close as and crazy as it happened, nothing did happen. But with that thing, seeing it, it was just creepy. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have no reference to it. What kind of creature it was or entity. So that, the creepiness of it, was a deterrent to go back. But it couldn't keep me away for too long. And I was out
Yeah.
there by myself with the big Bowie knife and a walking stick. Full moon, I'd be out there by myself all the time. Got myself in some pretty sketchy situation in some swamps, falling into muck, getting sucked up to my chest because I tried to jump over there was a creek through a swamp, and I didn't land on the bank enough, and I fell in, and going out there, midday, and going out and getting caught out after dark and stuff in an area I didn't really want to be out after dark. And yeah, you have fun, you get creepy, and I've been in some areas where you would think there was Bigfoot stuff, but found tracks, had wood knocks around there, stuff got thrown.
So did you camp in the woods out there behind your house when you lived
No,
there?
when I was a teenager, no. When I had friends and stuff over and stuff, yeah, we would. What we usually would happen, we would just stay up all night and be out there in the woods. So we
Yeah.
would just, when it was daybreak or just to be about daybreak, we would come back to the house and crash. Crash.
Yeah,
like
we
idiots.
do things like that. Go out in the woods and have a place where we had a camp for a bonfire, not like necessarily like with tents and stuff, just a bonfire. We'd sit out there
Right?
until like
Yeah,
5
we did
a.m. and then coming up back to the house and sleep all day.
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was one time with my buddies, we went out in the woods, and all of a sudden we heard this massive flapping noises, just flap and flap, flap, and I'm thinking, holy crap, there's this massive, like Thunderbird type of creature. It's massive, and it was about 20 turkeys flapping all in unison because we walked underneath of them. So it was very cool, very surreal sound.
Oh, I got one to
very
tell you
quickly-
that's like
very
that.
quickly determined that, of course, but at
I was
first it
doing
sounded like one massive bird.
I was doing like when we were younger, we'd do like creek runs. We'd run down the creek bank, the bed as fast as we could, and have races and stuff down through them. And I was running down through the creek bed, and all of a sudden this freaking head popped up out of the bushes. It was about 3 foot high. It was pretty big animal hissing at me. Yeah, I thought the first thing that pops in my head is like a cobra or something because the way it popped up like that. But then the big old wings come out, and that goose chased me all the way to the river.
Yeah, they're pretty mean and territorial, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a great time in that area actually growing up. I'm glad I grew up there and
Yeah.
shaped me to where I'm at now. And I got lucky. I was always out there by myself a lot. I got lucky that they didn't do nothing. I wasn't too stupid either, so